Hello there, and welcome back. Tonight, we're going somewhere most humans will never go, somewhere quiet, somewhere impossibly distant, yet closer than the moon. We're descending beneath the waves, past the last reach of sunlight, into a world where darkness has rules of its own and life has learned to glow. Take a moment to settle in. Maybe you're listening late at night, the world outside your window already wrapped in its own darkness. Maybe there's a lamp casting soft light across your room, or perhaps you've let the shadows gather naturally around you. Either way, you're in the perfect place for this journey, because tonight we're exploring what it means to live where light has never been. The deepest parts of the ocean. Imagine, if you will, standing at the edge of the sea on a quiet evening. The sun has just set, painting the water in shades of indigo and violet. You can hear the gentle rhythm of waves meeting shore, that ancient conversation between water and earth. Now imagine taking a single step forward, then another, until the water rises around you. You're sinking now, slowly, peacefully, into a realm that covers more than half our planet's surface, yet remains more mysterious than the far side of the moon. Where are you listening from tonight? Are you near an ocean, or far inland where water comes only from rivers and rain? It doesn't matter, really, because right now, in this moment, you're beginning a descent that will take you deeper than mountains at all, into pressures that would crush steel, into temperatures just above freezing, into a darkness so complete it has texture, and yet, impossibly beautifully, life is there. Not just surviving, but thriving, creating light where there should be none, building cities of strange beauty, singing songs we're only beginning to hear. The deep ocean is not empty, it's not silent, it's not the void we once imagined. It's a universe unto itself, operating on principles so different from our own that even now, with all our technology and understanding, we're still strangers to its ways. So let yourself drift, let your breathing slow, feel the weight of blankets around you like the gentle pressure of water, and know that you're safe here, suspended between waking and dreaming, about to discover what miracles exist in the places we call impossible. Perhaps adjust your pillow, let your shoulders soften. There's nowhere you need to be right now except here, descending with me into the deep, where creatures have learned to make their own stars. The ocean, you see, is not one place but many. It's layered like a cake, like the atmosphere, like your own consciousness as you drift towards sleep. Each layer has its own name, its own temperature, its own community of life, and we're going to pass through them all, one by one, until we reach the bottom of the world. But we'll go slowly. There's no rush in the deep. Time moves differently down there, measured not in seconds but in the patient drift of marine snow, in the slow pulse of ancient currents, in the lifespan of creatures that might live for centuries in the cold and dark. So breathe with me, in, out, slow and steady like the tide. We're beginning our descent now. The surface of the ocean is a membrane between two worlds. Above it, air and light, and the quick metabolism of terrestrial life. Below it, water and increasing darkness and a slower, stranger way of being. You're floating just beneath the surface now, in what scientists call the epipelagic zone, the sunlight zone. Here, in the top 200 meters of water, light still penetrates with enough strength to fuel photosynthesis. This is where most of the ocean's life concentrates, where phytoplankton drift in invisible clouds, turning sunlight into sugar, feeding everything above and below. The water around you is blue. Not the blue of paint or the blue of the sky, but a deep, living blue that seems to hum with possibility. Light moves through it in shafts and columns, bending and dancing as the waves pass overhead. If you look up, you can still see the surface, that shimmering boundary between water and air, between known and unknown. But you're sinking now, slowly, and the light is already beginning to change. It's subtle at first. The reds disappear first, absorbed by the water within just a few meters. That's why everything looks slightly blue-green down here. The ocean is drinking the warm colors, leaving only the cool ones behind. A drop of your blood, if you could see it here, would look green. A red fish appears grey. Color, that sense we trust so completely on land, becomes unreliable, becomes a trick of absence. Down you go. 10 meters, 20, 50. The light is dimming now, not like sunset, but like someone slowly turning down a dimmer switch on the universe. The water presses gently against you from all sides, not heavy yet, just present, reminding you that you're in a medium denser than air, a place where gravity works differently, where you could spin slowly and never fall. At 100 meters deep, you've entered a twilight realm. Scientists call this the dysphotic zone, but twilight is a better word, more honest. It's a place of transformation, where day and night blur into something else entirely. Here, most fish have larger eyes, evolved to catch every available photon. Here, the first hints of bioluminescence begin to appear, tiny sparks in the gloom, like stars being born. You can still detect light from above, but it's faint now, filtered and blue, arriving like a memory of the sun rather than the sun itself. If you were to look down, you'd see only darkness, a darkness so profound it seems to pull at you, inviting you deeper. And you're going. You are going. Because this is just the beginning. We haven't even reached the truly deep places yet, the realms where light has never touched, where pressure measures in tons per square inch, where the concepts of up and down start to lose their meaning. But already you can feel it, can't you? That sense of vastness, that recognition that you are entering a space larger than all the land on Earth combined, a space that holds secrets we're only beginning to whisper about. The ocean is not a place. It's a dimension, a state of being. And right now, suspended in this twilight between surface and abyss, you're beginning to understand what that means. 200 meters down, and the last threads of sunlight are giving up their hold on the water. You're passing now into what oceanographers call the mesopelagic zone, the twilight zone, where only 1% of surface light penetrates, and soon, not even that. This is where the ocean's greatest migration happens, though most people on land have never heard of it. Every single day at dusk, billions upon billions of small creatures rise from the depths toward the surface to feed under cover of darkness. Lanternfish, krill, squid, jellyfish, an entire community travelling hundreds of meters vertically, the largest migration of biomass on planet Earth, happening every single evening while humans eat dinner and watch television and prepare for bed. And then, at dawn, they descend again, following the darkness back down, hiding from predators that hunt by sight, conserving energy in the cold depths. It's called the Deal vertical migration, this daily journey between worlds, and it moves so much carbon from surface to depth that it affects the very chemistry of our atmosphere, helps regulate the climate of the entire planet. But you're not rising, you're descending, going against the flow. At 300 meters, the water is nearly black, nearly but not quite. Your eyes, given time, hours perhaps, might adjust enough to detect the faintest ghost of light from above, but there's no time for that now. You're sinking deeper, past 400 meters, 500, and now the darkness is complete. Total, absolute, perfect. This is a darkness unlike any you've experienced on land. In your room at night, even with the lights off and curtains drawn, there's still something. The glow of electronics, the distant street lamp, the moon through clouds, the bioluminescence of your own eyes adjusting. But here, 1,000 meters down, there is nothing. If you held your hand an inch from your face, you would not see it. The darkness is so complete it almost has weight, has presence, becomes a thing unto itself rather than just the absence of light. And yet, as your eyes adjust to this absolute blackness, you begin to notice something extraordinary. Tiny lights, pinpricks of blue-green illumination, appearing and disappearing like thoughts in the mind just before sleep. They drift past you, slow and purposeful, or dart suddenly like memories you can't quite catch. Bioluminescence, life making its own light. This is where the ocean becomes a galaxy, where creatures have learned to generate photons through chemical reactions in their bodies, turning themselves into living lanterns, living constellations, living proof that darkness is never truly empty if you know how to look. A jellyfish drifts by, its bell pulsing with rings of blue light like ripples on water. A fish passes, its sides studded with photophores, light organs, arranged in patterns unique as fingerprints. A squid flashes once, bright and startling, then vanishes back into black. They're not making light for you. They have no idea you're here. They're making light for each other, to hunt, to hide, to communicate, to find mates in the vastness. They're making light because down here, in the absence of the sun, light itself becomes precious, becomes power, becomes the difference between eating and being eaten, between finding love and dying alone. You're at 1,500 meters now, nearly a mile deep. The pressure at this depth is over 150 times what it is at the surface, enough to compress your body to a fraction of its size, to squeeze the air from your lungs to fold you like paper. But the creatures here don't feel that pressure because they're made of water, mostly, just like the ocean itself. They're in equilibrium with their environment, perfectly adapted to conditions that would destroy you in seconds, and still you're descending. Let's pause here for a moment, suspended in the deep twilight, and consider something remarkable. How does life exist here at all? Think about what's required for life as we know it. Energy, first and foremost. Every living thing needs fuel. On land and in the sunny surface waters, that energy comes ultimately from the sun through photosynthesis. Plants and algae capture light and turn it into sugar, and everything else eats the plants or eats the things that eat the plants. It's a food chain built on light. But here, 2,000 meters down, there is no light. Has never been light. Will never be light. So where does the energy come from? The answer drifts down from above like snow. Marine snow, they call it. The constant gentle fall of organic matter from the sunlit zone. Dead plankton, fecal pellets, shed shells, fragments of larger creatures, all of it sinking slowly, tumbling through the water column like flakes in a snow globe. It can take weeks for a single particle to fall from surface to seafloor, and along the way it's consumed and reconsumed, broken down and rebuilt, becoming food for the deep. Imagine that. The deep ocean surviving on scraps and leftovers from the world above, on the constant gentle rain of death transformed into life. It's a food web built not on light but on patience, on making the most of every tiny gift that gravity brings down from the sunlit realm. But marine snow alone can't explain the abundance of life in some deep places, can't explain the oases of strange plenty that exist around certain features of the seafloor, because there's another source of energy down here, one we didn't discover until 1977, one that changed our understanding of what life needs to thrive: hydrothermal vents. Imagine cracks in the seafloor where superheated water, hundreds of degrees hot, comes pouring out, carrying minerals dissolved from deep within the Earth's crust. The water is hot enough to melt lead, yet it doesn't boil because the pressure is too intense for bubbles to form. Instead, it billows out in black or white plumes, like smoke from invisible fires, staining the water with dissolved metals and sulfur compounds. And around these vents, against all logic, life thrives. Not just survives, thrives. Giant tube worms as tall as a person, their red plumes waving in the current, their bodies housing billions of bacteria that can turn sulfur compounds into energy. Clusters of white crabs and blind shrimp swarming over the rocks, feeding on bacterial mats that coat every surface. Mussels and clams living in densities that rival coral reefs, their shells dark against the pale minerals. This is chemosynthesis. Life fueled not by sunlight, but by chemical reactions, by the Earth's own heat, and the strange alchemy that happens when hot volcanic water meets cold ocean. It's a completely separate engine of life, one that could exist on other worlds, in other oceans, beneath the ice of Europa or Enceladus, wherever water and rock and heat come together in the dark. The creatures at hydrothermal vents live fast and die young. The vents themselves are temporary, lasting perhaps decades before the geology shifts and they go dormant. So evolution has made these animals grow quickly, reproduce rapidly, fill every available niche before the warmth disappears and the community must migrate to find a new vent, a new source of that precious chemical energy. But away from the vents, out in the vast abyssal plains and deep trenches, life moves differently, slowly, patiently, conserving every calorie, growing millimeters per year instead of inches, living for decades or centuries because there's no rush, because the deep ocean has all the time in the world. A Greenland shark, for instance, might live for 400 years, swimming slowly through the Arctic depths, growing so gradually that by the time it reaches sexual maturity, entire human civilizations have risen and fallen on the land above. Its flesh is toxic with accumulated chemicals, but it doesn't care. It has nowhere to be, nothing to prove, only the long, slow current of existence to follow. This is the hidden mechanism of the deep. Not just adaptation, but a complete reimagining of what it means to be alive. A slowing of metabolism, a stretching of time, a patience so profound it becomes a form of wisdom. You're 3,000 meters down now, and still descending. The deep ocean is old. older than mountains, older than ice ages, older than most of the species currently swimming in the sunlit surface waters. While continents have drifted and climates have shifted wildly, and extinction events have wiped the land clean again and again, the deep ocean has remained relatively stable, cold, dark, high pressure, unchanging. This stability has made it a refuge, a museum of living fossils, a place where ancient body plans still work because the environment that shaped them hasn't changed in hundreds of millions of years. Consider the Nautilus, that beautiful spiral-shelled cephalopod that lives at depths of several hundred meters. Its lineage goes back nearly 500 million years, to a time before fish had jaws, before plants colonized land. The Nautilus you might see today, if you're lucky enough to encounter one in deep reef waters, is nearly identical to its ancestors from the Ordovician period. It hasn't needed to change because its environment hasn't demanded it. Or consider the coelacanth, that living fossil fish thought extinct for 66 million years, until one was caught off South Africa in 1938. It lives in deep underwater caves and canyon walls, moving slowly, conserving energy, its lobed fins like stubby legs, a remnant of a time when fish were learning to walk. The deep ocean kept it safe while the world above changed beyond recognition. The deep ocean remembers. It holds in its waters and sediments a record of Earth's history more complete than any stone tablet or written language. The layers of sediment on the abyssal plains accumulate so slowly, millimeters per 1,000 years, that they contain within them evidence of every major shift in ocean chemistry, every extinction event, every period of warming and cooling, going back hundreds of millions of years. Scientists drill cores from the deep sea floor and read them like tree rings, like history books written in compressed mud and the shells of ancient plankton. They can see in those layers the asteroid impact that killed the dinosaurs, the opening and closing of ocean gateways, the rise and fall of carbon dioxide in the atmosphere, all of it preserved in the patient accumulation of marine snow falling through the dark. And the creatures living there now, they're reading that history too in their own way. Their bodies are archives of evolutionary solutions to the problems of the deep. How to see without light, how to find food in scarcity, how to find mates in vastness, how to survive pressure that would crumple submarines like paper cups. Every adaptation you see in a deep-sea creature is an answer to a question posed millions of years ago, refined through countless generations, tested against the absolute requirements of an environment that forgives nothing. The anglerfish, for instance, that nightmarish creature with the bioluminescent lure dangling in front of its mouth like a fishing rod. That lure is actually a modified spine from its dorsal fin, evolved over millions of years, colonized by bioluminescent bacteria that live in symbiosis with the fish, glowing to attract prey in the darkness. And in some species, the male anglerfish is tiny, parasitic, fusing himself permanently to the much larger female, becoming nothing more than a sperm-producing appendage, giving up his independence entirely because in the vast dark ocean, finding a mate is so difficult that once you've found one, you never let go. This is what the deep ocean teaches. That survival sometimes requires sacrifice. That partnership can mean fusion. That beauty and horror are two sides of the same coin, reflecting the same truth. Life will find a way, even if that way seems impossible to us. You're 4,000 meters down now, over 2 miles deep. The weight of water above you is almost incomprehensible, nearly 400 times atmospheric pressure. If you were to somehow survive and rise quickly to the surface, the air in your body would expand so violently it would tear you apart from the inside. But here, compressed and equalized, you're in balance. The creatures around you have never known any other pressure. This is their normal. This is their home. And they are, in their own strange way, as comfortable here as you are in your bed, under your blankets, breathing air at one atmosphere, listening to words in the darkness. Here's something that shouldn't be possible. In the deepest, darkest parts of the ocean, where food is scarce and energy is precious, some creatures are enormous. Not despite the scarcity, but somehow because of it. Deep-sea gigantism, scientists call it. The tendency for deep-sea species to be much larger than their shallow water relatives. Giant isopods the size of footballs, when their coastal cousins are the size of pillbugs. Giant squid reaching lengths of 40 feet or more, spider crabs with leg spans of 12 feet, their bodies tiny but their limbs extending like skeletal branches through the water. Why? We're not entirely sure. Perhaps it's the cold, which slows metabolism and allows for longer lifespans and more growth. Perhaps it's the pressure, which might affect cell size in ways we don't fully understand. Perhaps it's the lack of predators, allowing creatures to grow large without the constraint of needing to hide or move quickly. Or perhaps it's something else entirely, some principle of deep-sea ecology we haven't grasped yet. The deep ocean is full of these paradoxes. These shouldn't be possible realities. How do fish find each other to mate in the vast darkness? Some species have bioluminescent patterns so specific that only their own species can recognize them, like secret handshakes made of light. Others release chemical signals that drift on the currents, scent trails in 3 dimensions, pheromone clouds that might travel for miles. Still others have developed acute hearing, listening for the specific sounds of their potential mates, finding each other through song in the silence. How do creatures see in total darkness? Many deep-sea fish have evolved eyes so large and sensitive they can detect single photons, individual particles of light. Their eyes have layers of reflective tissue behind the retina, bouncing light back through the light-sensitive cells a second time, doubling their chances of detection. Some have tubular eyes that point upward, watching for the silhouettes of prey against the faint light from above. Others have given up on eyes entirely, relying instead on other senses: electroreception, chemical detection, the ability to feel vibrations in the water from remarkable distances. And here's perhaps the strangest paradox of all: some deep-sea creatures can see red light, even though red light doesn't exist in the deep ocean. Remember, red wavelengths are absorbed within the first few meters of water. Below 100 meters, there's no natural red light at all. So why would a deep-sea fish evolve the ability to see it? The answer took decades to discover. Some deep-sea fish produce their own red bioluminescence. While most bioluminescence is blue or green, colours that show up well in the deep ocean, a few species have evolved red light organs beneath their eyes, like infrared searchlights. They can see red light, but most other creatures can't, giving them a secret advantage. They're hunting with invisible light, illuminating their prey without the prey even knowing it's being watched. It's like something from science fiction: evolution inventing night vision goggles in absolute darkness, creating electromagnetic frequencies that shouldn't exist just to gain an edge in the eternal competition for survival. The deep ocean is teaching us something important here, something that goes beyond biology. It's teaching us that our assumptions about what's possible are often too narrow, too limited by our own experience. We think darkness means the absence of light, but these creatures have found light in darkness. We think scarcity means deprivation, but these ecosystems have found abundance in scarcity. We think pressure means crushing force, but these animals have found equilibrium in pressure. Every time we send submarines or robots or instruments into the deep, we discover something that rewrites our understanding. Species we didn't know existed, behaviours we couldn't have predicted, communities thriving in places we thought were barren. The deep ocean keeps reminding us, gently but persistently, that we don't know nearly as much as we think we do. You're 5,000 meters down now, over 3 miles beneath the surface. You've descended deeper than the height of most mountains. You're in the abyssal zone, that vast flat plane of ocean floor that covers more than half the Earth's surface. The pressure here is crushing. Over 500 atmospheres, more than 7,000 pounds per square inch. A styrofoam cup, if you brought it down here, would be compressed to the size of a thimble, its cellular structure collapsed by the weight of water. And yet, life. Always. Impossibly. Life. Pull back for a moment. Rise in your mind's eye if you can, not all the way to the surface, but just high enough to see the shape of what we're exploring. The deep ocean, from this perspective, looks like space, feels like space, vast, dark, cold, mostly empty, punctuated by islands of life around rare resources. It's no coincidence that we use the same word for both: abyss. The deep ocean and the cosmos share a vocabulary because they share fundamental characteristics. Both are hostile to unprotected human life. Both require specialized technology to explore. Both reveal wonders the deeper we look. When astrobiologists imagine what life might look like on other worlds, they often look to the deep ocean for inspiration. Europa, Jupiter's ice-covered moon, might have an ocean beneath its frozen crust twice the volume of all Earth's oceans combined. If there's life there, it probably looks like deep-sea life here, surviving without sunlight, clustered perhaps around hydrothermal vents on that alien seafloor, living in total darkness, making its own light, evolving in isolation for billions of years. Enceladus, Saturn's tiny moon, spouts geysers of liquid water into space from beneath its icy shell. Those plumes contain organic molecules, salts, hints of hydrothermal activity. If there's life in Enceladus's subsurface ocean, it's living in conditions similar to Earth's deepest trenches, high pressure, cold, dark, fed by chemistry rather than sunlight. The deep ocean is teaching us where to look for life in the universe. It's expanding our definition of habitability. For most of human history, we thought life required sunlight, required moderate temperatures, required conditions similar to the surface of our world. But the deep ocean says no. Life requires liquid water, energy in some form, and time. Everything else is negotiable. This is the wider mirror the deep shows us, that our planet is not one environment but many, that the rules of life on land are not universal laws but local customs, that the universe is likely full of strange ecologies, alien metabolisms, ways of being alive that we can barely imagine because they're so different from our own experience. But you can begin to imagine them now, because you've been descending for a while, passing through layers of strangeness, adjusting to impossibility. The deep ocean is training your mind for cosmic thinking. Consider the patterns that repeat at every scale, the way matter organizes itself under pressure, whether that pressure comes from water or gravity or the fabric of space-time itself. Stars collapse under their own weight and ignite fusion in their cores. Gas giants compress hydrogen until it behaves like metal. Black holes press matter until it breaks the rules of physics as we understand them. And here, in the deep ocean, pressure creates its own strange states of being. Water itself behaves differently at these depths. Denser, less compressible, its molecules packed tighter than at the surface. The chemical reactions that power life happen at different rates, follow different pathways. Proteins fold into shapes that wouldn't be stable at lower pressures. Cell membranes incorporate special lipids to maintain flexibility in the face of compression. Life here has become a pressure-based technology, as finely tuned to its environment as a spacecraft is tuned to vacuum and radiation. These creatures are alien, in a real sense. Not from another planet, but living under conditions so different from our own that they might as well be. And yet we share ancestry with them. Trace back far enough, and you and the anglerfish swimming past you in the dark had a common ancestor, some small, simple creature in the ancient seas, before there was even a seafloor as we know it now, before continents, before complex life. You carry the ocean inside you. Your blood is salty because your ancestors evolved in salt water. The first 9 months of your existence you floated in amniotic fluid, a private ocean inside your mother's body, recapitulating in miniature the entire history of life's journey from sea to land. Your cells are still bathed in fluids that remember the sea. Your body is mostly water. You are a walking, talking ocean, a piece of the sea that learned to live in air. So in a strange way, descending into the deep is like going home, like returning to the source. Your body recognizes this, even if your conscious mind finds it alien. The rhythm of your heartbeat echoes the rhythm of waves. The pressure of blankets on your skin mimics the gentle press of water. Your breath, slow and steady, moves like currents through the dark. You're 6,000 meters down now, nearly 4 miles deep. You've entered the Hadal Zone, named after Hades, the ancient Greek underworld. This is the realm of the deepest trenches, the wounds in the Earth's crust where tectonic plates are being dragged down into the mantle, creating valleys deeper than mountains are tall. And still there is life. Still, impossibly, wonderfully, there is life. There's something deeply moving about knowing that life exists in the deepest darkness, something that speaks to more than just scientific curiosity. It touches something emotional, something almost spiritual, though that word might feel too large for the moment. Maybe it's the persistence of it, the sheer stubborn refusal to give up, to declare any place uninhabitable, life flowing into every crack, every crevice, every supposedly impossible niche. If life can thrive 5 miles underwater in crushing pressure and total darkness, what does that say about resilience, about possibility, about the determination encoded into every cell to continue, to adapt, to find a way forward even when the way forward seems to lead into nothing? Or maybe it's the beauty, because these creatures are beautiful in their way, not beautiful like butterflies or flowers, not beautiful according to the aesthetics we learn in the sunlit world, but beautiful in their perfect adaptation, their elegant solutions to impossible problems. The translucent jellyfish pulsing with rings of light, the delicate tripod fish perched on elongated fin rays on the seafloor like a spider, facing into the current, waiting patiently for food to drift by. The Dumbo octopus, ear-like fins flapping slowly, drifting through the water like a ghost. We tend to call deep-sea creatures ugly or nightmarish, but that says more about us than about them. They're not designed to please human eyes. They're designed to survive where we cannot, to thrive in conditions that would kill us instantly. Their strangeness is not a flaw. It's a feature, evidence of evolution's endless creativity. And perhaps that's what's most moving of all, that we can find kinship with these creatures despite their strangeness. That we can look at an anglerfish or a gulper eel and see, not a monster, but a fellow traveller, a distant cousin, another experiment in being alive. You've probably never seen a deep-sea creature in person. Unless you're a marine biologist or have visited an aquarium with a deep-sea exhibit, you've experienced these animals only through photographs and videos, images captured by submersibles and remotely operated vehicles, brought up from the darkness into the light of screens and pages. But you know them now, in a way. You've descended with them. You've felt, at least imaginatively, the pressure of their world, the darkness of their days. You've begun to understand what it might mean to live where they live, to navigate by light you make yourself, to move through a world of three-dimensional freedom where up and down are suggestions rather than laws. And maybe, in the quietness of this moment, you can feel a connection. Not a mystical one necessarily, just the simple recognition that these creatures face challenges, finding food, finding mates, avoiding predators, staying alive one more day, and that those challenges, in their essence, are not so different from your own. The scale is different, the environment is different, but the fundamental drive, the basic algorithm of life, is the same. Survive, adapt, continue. There's comfort in that somehow, in knowing that you're part of a pattern that extends into the deepest darkness, that the same forces shaping that anglerfish's luminous lure have shaped your own eyes, your own brain, your own persistent heartbeat. You're made of the same stuff, following the same rules, participating in the same ancient story. And right now, lying in your bed or sitting in your chair, breathing slowly in the darkness of your room, you're not so different from those deep-sea creatures. You too are conserving energy, preparing for sleep, letting your metabolism slow, your thoughts drift, your consciousness dim like the fading light in the ocean's twilight zone. You too are bioluminescent in a way. Your body generates light, infrared light from your metabolic heat, faint photons from chemical reactions in your cells. You glow, just barely, if anyone had eyes sensitive enough to see it. You're a warm constellation in the cool darkness of night, a spark of life in the vastness. The deep ocean is teaching you something about yourself, about your place in the living world, about the strange and wonderful fact that you exist at all, that your ancestors survived long enough in an often hostile world to eventually produce you, to pass along the genetic instructions that let you breathe and think and listen to words in the darkness. You're 7,000 meters down now, over 4 miles deep, deeper than the vast majority of the ocean floor. You're in one of the deep trenches now, one of those rare places where the Earth's crust is being recycled, where seafloor is being dragged down into the mantle, creating depths so extreme that only a handful of humans have ever visited them, and you're still not at the bottom. Let's surface for just a moment. Not physically, you're still deep in the trench, still descending, but mentally. Let's think about how the deep ocean connects to your everyday life, to the world you know, to the familiar experiences that shape your days. Because the deep ocean isn't as distant as it seems. Its influence reaches up through the water column, through the atmosphere, into your lungs and bloodstream and daily weather. The oxygen you're breathing right now, slow, steady breaths as you listen and drift. About half of it came from the ocean. Not from the deep ocean, true, but from the phytoplankton in the sunlit surface waters, those microscopic algae performing photosynthesis, splitting water molecules and releasing oxygen as a byproduct. Every other breath you take is an ocean breath, a gift from tiny organisms you'll never see, and the deep ocean regulates Earth's climate. Those slow, cold currents moving along the ocean floor, carrying water that sank at the poles and is now creeping across the abyssal plains at the speed of a snail. Those currents are part of the global conveyor belt, the thermohaline circulation that distributes heat around the planet. Without the deep ocean's patient movement, the tropics would be unbearably hot, and the poles even colder. Weather patterns would be wildly different. Life on land would have evolved along completely different paths. The deep ocean is also storing carbon, enormous amounts of it. When marine snow drifts down and settles on the seafloor, it takes carbon with it. Carbon that was once in the atmosphere, that was fixed by photosynthesis, that's now being buried in sediments where it might stay for millions of years. The ocean has absorbed about a third of all the carbon dioxide humans have released since the Industrial Revolution, slowing the pace of climate change, buying us time. But that absorption comes at a cost. The extra carbon dioxide is making the ocean more acidic, changing its chemistry in ways that affect everything from coral reefs to the smallest plankton. The deep ocean is buffering these changes, absorbing and storing the excess, but it's not infinite. It can't do this forever. The deep ocean is patient, but even its patience has limits. You've probably eaten fish. Maybe not recently, but at some point. And some of those fish, tuna for instance, or swordfish, are deep divers, spending parts of their lives in the mesopelagic zone, hunting squid and lanternfish, bringing nutrients from the deep back to the surface. When you eat that fish, you're eating the deep ocean. You're incorporating into your body atoms that once circulated through the abyssal currents, that once were part of marine snow drifting in the darkness. You're connected, more than you probably realized. The ocean is not separate from you. It's part of the same system, the same living planet, the same intricate web of relationships that includes deep-sea vents and phytoplankton, and your own mitochondria, those tiny cellular power plants that were once free-living bacteria billions of years ago. Everything is connected. That's not mysticism, it's ecology, it's chemistry. It's the simple fact that Earth is a closed system, cycling the same water, the same carbon, the same nitrogen through endless transformations. The water in your cells might once have been in the deep ocean, will be again, someday, in the long cycle of evaporation and rain, and rivers and return. Even the pressure you're imagining right now, that crushing weight of water, you experience pressure every day. Not as intense, of course, but the atmosphere presses on you with 14 pounds per square inch, and you don't notice because you've lived in it your whole life, because your body is designed for it. To a deep-sea creature, the pressure of the Hadal zone is just as normal, just as invisible. It's all relative, all a matter of perspective and adaptation. The deep ocean teaches you that your normal is not universal, that every creature lives in its own unique envelope of conditions, its own version of reality, and that's okay. That's not confusing or threatening. It's beautiful. It means the universe has room for endless variety, endless ways of being. The sound of waves, if you've ever stood on a beach, that sound is the deep ocean breathing. The water that rises and falls in those waves has been to the deep and back countless times, cycling through the entire depth range of the sea. The ocean breathes slowly, its inhalations and exhalations measured in currents that take hundreds or thousands of years to complete a circuit, but it breathes nonetheless. And right now, you're breathing too, slowly, steadily, in rhythm with something larger than yourself. Your breath is connected to the ocean's breath, to the breath of the atmosphere, to the slow respiration of the entire planet. You're 8,000 meters down now, nearly 5 miles deep. You're approaching the deepest parts of the deepest trenches. The water here is so cold it's barely above freezing. The pressure is over 16,000 pounds per square inch, more than 1,000 atmospheres. A human body here would be compressed instantly, but you're not really here, are you? You're safe in your bed, warm under blankets, imagining what it might be like. And the creatures here, the ones that actually live at these depths, they're fine. They're home. This is their everyday wonder, their familiar world. To them, this is normal. This is comfortable. This is where they belong. Just like you belong where you are, in your own envelope of pressure and temperature and light, perfectly adapted, perfectly placed, part of the pattern. What does it mean to live in darkness? Not as a metaphor, not as a symbol, but as an actual physical reality. To spend your entire existence in a place where light has never reached, where the concept of day and night has no meaning, where time is marked only by the slow drift of currents and the even slower accumulation of sediment. Perhaps darkness is not the absence of light, but a different kind of presence. A medium in its own right, with its own textures and qualities. The creatures of the deep ocean don't experience their world as dark because they have no concept of light to contrast it with. To them, this is simply what the world is, what the world has always been, what the world will always be. We call their habitat the abyss, the void, the emptiness, but it's not empty. It's full of water, full of life, full of quiet stories playing out at the edge of our awareness. The emptiness is only in our perception, in our inability to see what's there because it doesn't match our expectations of what should be there. How many other abysses do we carry inside ourselves? How many dark places in our minds and hearts, places we think of as empty or void, that are actually full of life we haven't learned to perceive yet? The deep ocean is a mirror for consciousness itself, for the depths within us that we rarely explore, that we fear might contain nothing, but they contain something. Always there is something. You just have to learn to see differently, to sense differently, to understand that your usual tools for navigation don't work here, and that's okay. You can develop new ones. The bioluminescence in the deep ocean. Is it for communication, or is it communication? When a jellyfish pulses with light and another jellyfish sees it and responds, are they exchanging information, or are they simply being what they are, radiating their nature into the surrounding space, creating patterns that ripple outward like the wake of a boat? Maybe every living thing is always communicating, always broadcasting its existence into the universe, whether or not anyone is listening. Maybe speech and bioluminescence and birdsong and the silent growth of plants are all versions of the same fundamental act. The declaration that I am here, I exist, I matter. And if each breath is a dialogue with the universe, as someone once suggested, maybe sleep is the universe's answer back. Maybe the descent into unconsciousness every night is like descending into the deep ocean, a journey into darkness where different rules apply, where time moves strangely, where impossible things happen and seem normal until you surface again into waking. Your dreams are your hadal zone, the deepest parts of your mind where pressure from the day's experiences has transformed thoughts into strange creatures that glow with their own internal light. You meet them there, in the darkness behind your eyes, and sometimes they're beautiful and sometimes they're frightening, but they're always yours, always produced by the unique chemistry of your particular consciousness. The deep ocean asks questions without demanding answers. It presents paradoxes without resolving them. It shows you that life persists even in impossibility, that beauty exists even in strangeness, that there's wonder in the places you least expect to find it. If you were to imagine yourself as a deep-sea creature, and why not in this liminal space between waking and sleep, what would you be? Would you be a drifter, carried by currents, letting the ocean take you where it will? Or would you be a walker, perched on the seafloor, patient and still, waiting for food to come to you? Would you make light? Or have you given up on light entirely, navigating by other senses, by the feel of pressure gradients and chemical trails? Maybe you're all of these at different times, drifting when you need to rest, walking when you need to act, making light when you want to be seen, going dark when you need to hide, adapting your strategy to circumstances, flexible, responsive, alive in the fullest sense of the word. The deep ocean is teaching you something about acceptance, about being comfortable with mystery, with not knowing, with questions that don't have neat answers. Science can measure and map and catalogue, but it can't capture everything. There's always more to discover, always another layer deeper, always some creature or behaviour or chemical reaction we haven't documented yet. And that's wonderful. That's not frustrating. It's wonderful, because it means the universe still has secrets, still has depths to plumb, still has the capacity to surprise us, to reveal wonders we didn't know we were missing. You're 9,000 metres down now, over 5.5 miles deep. You're in the Mariana Trench, or the Tonga Trench, or the Philippine Trench, one of those rare places where the seafloor drops away into chasms that rival mountains in their scale. And you're still not quite at the bottom. There's deeper yet to go. Just a little bit farther, just a little bit more, and you're ready for it, aren't you? You've come this far. You've adjusted to the pressure, the cold, the darkness. You've learned to see by the light creatures make themselves. You've learned to be patient, to move slowly, to conserve energy. You've learned to live in the deep. Here we are, the deepest place on Earth. The bottom of the Mariana Trench, a slash in the seafloor nearly 7 miles below the surface, deeper than Mount Everest is tall. If you could place Everest at the bottom of this trench, its peak would still be over a mile underwater. The pressure here is almost 16,000 pounds per square inch, more than 1,000 times atmospheric pressure. the equivalent of having 50 jumbo jets stacked on top of every square inch of your body. It should be crushing. It should be impossible. But there's life here. Amphipods, shrimp-like creatures about the size of your thumb, swimming through the water column, feeding on detritus. Snailfish, pale and translucent, with gelatinous bodies and bones so soft they bend rather than break. Sea cucumbers, lying on the sediment, processing it slowly through their gut, extracting whatever nutrients they can find. Xenophyophorus, single-celled organisms that grow as large as grapefruits, sprawling across the seafloor in delicate lattices. This is the hadopelagic zone, named after Hades, the underworld, and yet it's not lifeless. It's not hellish. It's just deep, quiet, slow. A place where time moves at its own pace, where evolution has found solutions to problems that would have seemed unsolvable anywhere else. The sediment here is old. Some of it has been accumulating undisturbed for millions of years, layer upon layer of marine snow compressed into ooze, recording in its chemistry the entire history of the ocean above. This is the most stable environment on Earth. The temperature never changes, the pressure never changes, the darkness is absolute and eternal. While the surface world has frozen and thawed through ice ages, while continents have collided and split apart, while species have evolved and gone extinct, this place has remained essentially the same, and that stability has made it a refuge. When asteroid impacts or volcanic eruptions or dramatic climate shifts have devastated shallow waters, the deep trenches have kept their populations safe, isolated, protected by sheer depth and pressure from whatever chaos was happening above. Life here has had time to become strange, to specialize, to solve problems in ways that don't make sense anywhere else. The fish here have no swim bladders. Those gas-filled organs that help fish maintain buoyancy in shallow water would be crushed by the pressure. Instead, they rely on lipids, on fats and oils that are less compressible, that let them float without requiring air. Their bodies are watery, gelatinous, flexible. Their bones are soft. Their muscles are minimal because there's not much energy available for movement. They're energy minimalists, these deep trench dwellers. They do only what's absolutely necessary. Everything else has been stripped away by evolution, deemed too expensive to maintain in an environment where every calorie counts. They are life reduced to its essence, metabolism, reproduction, the basic drive to continue, and somehow in that reduction they've found elegance. There's beauty in efficiency, in doing more with less, in surviving where survival should be impossible. These creatures have been sculpted by their environment into perfect solutions to the problem of being alive here, now, at the bottom of the world. They are not lesser for their simplicity. They are not primitive. They are masterpieces of adaptation, as refined as any apex predator, as specialized as any rainforest orchid. And they're teaching us something about the boundaries of life, about where it can exist and where it cannot. Because if life exists here, at the bottom of the Mariana Trench, in conditions so extreme they would instantly kill almost any terrestrial organism, then life might exist in places we haven't even imagined yet. In the clouds of Venus, where pressure is similar and temperature is hellish. In the subsurface oceans of icy moons, where only chemistry and time are needed. In the cracks and pores of rocks miles beneath our feet, where microbes live on hydrogen and thrive in total darkness. The deep ocean is expanding our sense of possibility. Every discovery here is an argument for hope, for life's persistence, for the universe's capacity to surprise us. If snailfish can thrive at the bottom of the Mariana Trench, what else might be possible? What other impossibilities are waiting to be revealed? You're lying on the seafloor now in your imagination. The sediment is soft beneath you, yielding, fine-grained. There's no current here, just stillness. The water is clear because there's nothing in it. No plankton, no particles, just pure water, and whatever dissolved chemicals it carries. Above you is 7 miles of ocean, pressing down with unimaginable weight, and yet you feel no discomfort because you're in equilibrium, because you're imagining yourself as adapted, as belonging here. And maybe, in a strange way, you do belong here. Not physically, but conceptually. Because you've made the journey. You've descended from the bright surface through the twilight, through the midnight zone, through the abyssal plains, into the Hadal depths. You've learned to see without light, to find beauty in strangeness, to understand that life's diversity includes the weird and wonderful creatures of the deep. You carry the deep ocean with you now. Even when you surface, and you will surface slowly, gently, rising back through the layers toward consciousness and morning. You'll remember what you've seen. You'll remember that the world is deeper and stranger and more full of life than you realized. That darkness is not emptiness. That pressure can be home. That light can be made instead of received. And you'll remember that you are part of this. That you're made of atoms that once drifted through the deep, that might drift there again. That the same forces that shape these creatures have shaped you. That you're not separate from the ocean, but a manifestation of it, a different configuration of the same elements, following the same laws, participating in the same ancient dance of life. The deep ocean is not a foreign place. It's home. In the deepest sense of that word, it's where life comes from, where life persists, where life will endure long after humans are gone. It's patient, it's vast, it's full of secrets that will take centuries to uncover, if we ever uncover them all. And right now, lying on the bottom of the world, you can rest, you can let go, you can trust that the ocean will hold you, will support you, will carry you back to the surface when the time is right. There's no hurry, there's nowhere you need to be, just here, in the deep, in the dark, in the infinite patience of water. Eventually, gently, you begin to rise. Not because you choose to, particularly, but because the journey is complete. You've been to the bottom. You've seen what lives there. Now it's time to return, slowly, carefully, allowing your body and mind to adjust as you ascend back through the layers. You rise from the trench floor, leaving the snailfish and amphipods to their patient lives. The pressure begins to ease, though you won't notice it. It's too gradual, too gentle. You're rising at the pace of marine snow, 1 meter at a time, drifting upward on imaginary currents, on the slow overturn of deep water. 8,000 meters, 7,000. The abyssal plains spread out beneath you now, vast and flat and nearly featureless. This is still the deep ocean, still dark, still cold, but the pressure is slightly less, the life slightly more abundant. You pass over the tracks of sea cucumbers, meandering trails in the sediment where they've crawled, feeding, leaving behind their signature in soft mud. You pass through clouds of marine snow, those gentle falling particles that feed everything below. You can see them now as faint specks, catching whatever light your own imagination provides, drifting downward while you drift up, a constant exchange between surface and depth, between life and recycling, between beginning and ending. 6,000 meters. 5,000. You're rising faster now, though still slowly enough that there's no rush, no urgency. The creatures around you are changing, becoming slightly more active, slightly more diverse. The energy level is increasing, incrementally, as the distance to the sunlit zone decreases and the rain of food from above becomes slightly more abundant. You pass through a zone where the seafloor is dotted with manganese nodules, strange potato-shaped rocks that form over millions of years from minerals precipitating out of seawater. They cover the abyssal plains in places like cobblestones on an ancient road, and there's life on them, attached to them, using them as anchor points in the soft sediment. Sea anemones, sponges, tiny creatures taking advantage of hard surfaces in a world of mud. 4,000 meters, 3,000. The water is still dark, still cold, but you're entering the mesopelagic zone again, that twilight realm where a fraction of surface light penetrates and bioluminescence becomes common. The creatures here are more familiar now, after your descent. The lanternfish, the jellyfish, the squid with their light organs and large eyes. This is where the vertical migration happens, remember? Billions of small creatures rising at night to feed in surface waters, then descending at dawn to hide in the darkness. You're moving counter to them, rising during the day, though day and night have little meaning in this constant twilight, making your way slowly toward the light. 2,000 meters, 1,000. The water is brightening now, not to full light yet, but to a deep blue-green, the colour of possibility. You can see farther than you could in the abyss. The water has texture again, has layers, has gradients of colour and brightness, and you realise as you rise that you've changed. Not physically, you're still in your bed, still breathing slowly, still drifting in that space between waking and sleep, but mentally, emotionally, you've been transformed by the journey. You've seen things few people imagine. You've descended into the deep and returned. You carry with you now an understanding of what exists in the darkness, what miracles persist in places we thought were barren. The deep ocean has taught you patience, has taught you that darkness is not empty, that pressure can be home, that life finds a way even in impossible circumstances, has taught you that beauty comes in forms you don't expect, that adaptation is an art, that survival is a kind of poetry written in cells and chemicals and bioluminescent flashes. 500 meters, 300, the light is stronger now, definite, the deep blue of open ocean water. You can see the shafts of sunlight penetrating from above, golden columns swaying with the movement of waves. You're approaching the boundary between deep and shallow, between the realm of eternal night and the realm of day. And as you rise, you feel something like gratitude for the journey, for the creatures that live in the deep, that showed you what's possible, that reminded you that the world is larger and stranger and more full of wonder than you usually remember. For the ocean itself, that patient, powerful, mysterious body of water that covers most of our planet and hides so much we still don't understand. 200 meters, 100. You're back in the epipelagic zone, the sunlight zone, where photosynthesis happens and most of the ocean's visible life congregates. The water here is bright, warm compared to the depths, full of motion and colour, and the quick metabolism of creatures that live in light. It's almost overwhelming after the stillness of the deep. There's so much activity here, so much energy, so much light. Schools of fish flash silver as they turn. Jellyfish drift past, their bells pulsing rhythmically. Plankton swirl in invisible currents, too small to see individually but present as a kind of texture in the water, a thickness, a hint of life in every drop. This is the ocean most people imagine when they think of the sea. The bright, active, sunlit realm where dolphins leap and sea turtles glide, and coral reefs burst with colour. It's beautiful, undeniably beautiful, but you know now that it's just one layer, just one zone of a much deeper, stranger reality. The fish here don't bioluminesce. They don't need to. They have sunlight, abundant and free, providing all the illumination necessary for hunting and hiding and finding mates. They have colour vision because there are colours to see. They have swim bladders to maintain buoyancy because the pressure here is manageable. They are in most ways more familiar to you than the creatures of the deep, but you see them differently now. You understand that they're adapted to their environment just as thoroughly as the anglerfish or the snailfish, that they're specialists in their own way, tuned to the conditions of the sunlit zone. They couldn't survive in the deep any more than the deep sea creatures could survive here. Each is perfect for its place and helpless outside of it. 50 meters, 20. The surface is close now, visible as a mirror-bright boundary above you, rippling with waves. Light dances across it, refracting through the moving water, creating patterns of brightness and shadow that shift constantly, and then you break through. The surface, the boundary, the place where ocean meets air, where water meets sky, where one world ends and another begins. You're back in the realm of air-breathing creatures, of light and warmth and all the familiar comforts of terrestrial existence. You could gasp, metaphorically, emerging into air after so long underwater. But you don't need to. You've been breathing the whole time, slowly and steadily, lying in your bed, safe and comfortable, imagining this journey while your body rests and prepares for sleep. The ocean stretches around you, infinite and blue, reflecting the sky. Waves roll gently past, their rhythm ancient and soothing. You float on the surface for a moment, looking down into the depths you've just left, seeing only the blue darkness below, knowing what lies hidden in that darkness, carrying that knowledge like a secret treasure. And then you look up, at the sky, at the clouds, at the familiar world of air and light. The sun is setting, perhaps, or rising. It doesn't matter which. The light is golden, soft, painting everything in warm tones. Birds circle overhead, calling to each other. The air smells of salt and distance. You're back. You've completed the journey, descended to the deepest point on Earth and returned to tell the tale. And though your body never left your bed, though this was all imagination and metaphor and gentle storytelling, it was real in the ways that matter. You learned something. You saw something. You expanded your understanding of what exists, what's possible, what miracles persist in the places we rarely look. The deep ocean is still down there, of course. Still dark, still cold, still full of strange creatures going about their lives in the eternal pressure and darkness. They don't know you imagined yourself among them. They don't care. They're simply being what they are, living where they live, continuing the ancient pattern of survival and adaptation that connects them to every other living thing on Earth, including you. And you're here at the surface, breathing air, feeling warmth, preparing to let go of consciousness and drift into sleep, which is its own kind of descent, its own journey into darkness, its own exploration of depth that exists inside your mind rather than in the ocean. So what have we learned in this long descent and gentle return? What do you carry with you now, floating on the surface, preparing to drift into sleep? Perhaps you've learned that darkness is not absence, that pressure is relative, that life is more persistent and creative and adaptable than we give it credit for, that the world contains wonders in the places we least expect, requires only that we look, that we descend, that we make the effort to see beyond our usual boundaries. The deep ocean is still mostly unexplored. We've mapped more of the moon's surface and Mars's surface than we have of our own ocean floor. Every time we send vehicles into the deep, we discover new species, new behaviours, new ecosystems. There are mountain ranges underwater we haven't named, canyons we haven't plumbed, communities of creatures we haven't documented. It's humbling in a way to realise how much we don't know about our own planet, but it's also exciting because it means there's always more to discover, always deeper to go, always new questions to ask and new answers to find. The creatures of the deep ocean are doing exactly what you're doing right now, conserving energy, moving slowly, preparing for a long period of rest. They don't sleep in the way you sleep perhaps, but they have their own rhythms, their own cycles, their own ways of balancing activity and stillness. In the deepest trenches, time moves slowly. A sea cucumber might take a year to grow a single centimetre. A bacterial colony might divide once a month instead of once an hour. Life is patient there, because it has to be. Because the energy budget is so tight that waste is unthinkable. But that slowness is not a disadvantage. It's a strategy. It's a way of surviving where faster living creatures cannot. It's proof that there are many ways to be alive, many speeds at which to live, many different definitions of success. And you, right now, are slowing down. Your heartbeat is steady and calm, your breathing is deep and regular, your thoughts are becoming less linear, more associative, drifting like marine snow through the layers of your consciousness. You're preparing to descend into your own depths, into sleep, into dreams, into the nightly renewal that every human needs. Sleep is like the deep ocean in many ways. It's dark, it's restorative. It's where your brain processes the day's experiences, consolidates memories, repairs cellular damage, prepares you for the next day's challenges. Sleep is essential, like the deep ocean is essential to the health of the entire marine ecosystem. Without the deep ocean, without that vast reservoir of cold water and stored carbon and patient recycling, the surface waters would be impoverished, unstable, unable to support the abundance of life we see. Without sleep, without that nightly descent into darkness, your brain would be similarly impoverished, unable to function properly, unable to support the thoughts and feelings and actions that make you who you are. So the deep ocean is teaching you to value darkness, to understand that rest is not laziness but necessity, that stillness is not stagnation but preparation, that the invisible processes happening in dark places are just as important as the visible activities happening in light. The bioluminescence you saw in the deep, those flashes and glows and pulses of light, they're like the dreams you'll have tonight, sudden illuminations in darkness, patterns that seem to mean something, images that appear and disappear without obvious logic. Your brain is bioluminescent in its own way, generating thoughts and feelings and perceptions from internal chemistry, creating light where there should be none. And just as bioluminescence serves purposes for the creatures that produce it, hunting, mating, warning, camouflage, your dreams serve purposes for you. They process emotions, consolidate learning, simulate scenarios, maintain the health of your neural networks. They're not random, they're functional, they're your brain's way of maintaining itself in the darkness of sleep. So as you prepare to descend into sleep, remember what you've learned from the deep ocean. That darkness is not empty, that pressure can be comfortable if you're adapted to it, that slow and patient is a valid way to live, that light can be made instead of received, that there's beauty in strangeness, wisdom in adaptation, wonder in the places we rarely look. The sun has set now, or is setting, or perhaps was never up to begin with. Time has become fluid, unstable, less important than it was. You're floating on the surface of the ocean, or lying in your bed, or suspended somewhere between the two. It doesn't matter. What matters is that you're here, now, in this moment, breathing slowly, feeling your body relax, allowing your thoughts to drift like plankton on gentle currents. The ocean continues its ancient rhythm beneath you, tides rising and falling, currents flowing, creatures hunting and hiding and living their strange lives in layers you can't see but know are there. The deep ocean persists, patient and powerful, holding its secrets gently, waiting for curious minds to descend and discover them. And you're descending now too in your own way, not into water but into sleep, not into pressure but into dreams, not into darkness but into the soft, necessary unconsciousness that every living thing needs. Your breathing is slow, in, out, like the breath of the ocean itself, like the slow overturn of deep currents, like the patient pulse of life in the abyss. There's no rush, no urgency, just the gentle, inevitable drift towards sleep, toward rest, toward renewal. The creatures you met tonight, the anglerfish with its glowing lure, the snailfish at the bottom of the trench, the bioluminescent jellyfish pulsing through twilight waters, they're still there, still living their lives, still doing what they've always done. They don't know you visited, don't know you learned from them, but the learning happened anyway, and you carry it with you now, a gift from the deep. You carry the knowledge that life persists in impossible places, that beauty exists in unexpected forms, that darkness is full of light if you know how to look, that patience is a virtue, that slowness is sometimes wisdom, that there are depths to explore both outside and inside yourself. And as your thoughts slow and scatter and begin to lose their coherence, as the boundary between waking and sleeping becomes thin and permeable, you might notice that you're glowing slightly in your imagination. A soft blue-green light, like bioluminescence, emanating from your body, marking your presence in the darkness of your room. You're making your own light, just like the creatures of the deep, creating illumination from internal chemistry, from the simple fact of being alive, from the metabolic processes that continue even as you sleep, keeping you warm, keeping you breathing, keeping you present in the world. The story continues in your dreams. The ocean is still there, still deep, still mysterious. Tomorrow, or next week, or years from now, you might descend again, might explore different zones, different trenches, different communities of impossible creatures doing impossible things. But for now, rest. For now, drift. For now, let the darkness hold you gently, like water, like pressure, like the patient embrace of the deep ocean that has cradled life for billions of years and will continue long after you wake. The whispering continues even in silence. The ocean breathes even in stillness. And you sleep and dream and glow softly in the dark, a constellation of one, a spark of life in the vastness, exactly where you should be, exactly when you should be there. I'll be here, whispering through the quiet whenever you're ready to descend again. The deep waits, patient, eternal, full of wonders, and so do you.